this? Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 167 of The Grove Podcast now. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying some well-deserved time off from the stresses and strains of supporting Arsenal this season during this final international break. Now, hopefully you're doing things like spending time touching grass, I think as the kids say these days, doing all those jobs you've been putting off for ages, doing some spring cleaning, getting the garden ready for summer and just not thinking about the Arsenal. And you know, if you are, then, well done you. Unfortunately for the likes of me, I can't stop stressing about Eze, the bullshit around Ben White, and to put the icing on the proverbial cake, Madueke. So I think some are better at these things than me. But there are some positives to take, namely Gyökeres' hat-trick. And in today's episode, we'll cover all those things, as well as look at the current state of play of Arsenal and what to expect in the final 8 to 9 weeks of the season. It sounds a lot, but it's also going to go just like that. So, and see how we're going to manage the team, how we prioritise, and what we will hopefully win, when we'll win it, and how we'll win it, and anything else that crops up along the way. So, and joining me today is Andy. Andy, how are you? And how have you been able to forget about Arsenal, and how have you recovered from last week's humbling by City?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Tabs. I'm good, thank you. I mean, I did go along to the Scotland-Japan game last night, actually, and it was I don't know if it was. I thought originally it was going to be a good thing to be able to kind of de-stress and focus on a different team, but it then turned into the most turgid game of football I've ever seen. Like, it was a classic mid-season friendly, no intensity. Teams just kind of happy to pass it around. So when it's not necessarily inspiring you on the pitch, your head begins to drift elsewhere, and you're like, oh, they're obviously not putting all intensity in because they don't want to get injured for the last big uphill battle for the rest of the Premier League season. And then my head immediately went to, I could Madueke just have got the luck of the draw on that side. But yeah, generally in a much better place now than I think whatever it was, 6-7 o'clock on Sunday. I think Moz came round to watch the football at mine on Sunday and pretty much left immediately after, and then I think we spoke from half time onwards, to be honest. It's just when you have that kind of build up and you know that it can be that much of a platform and that much of a kind of jumping off point for your season, and then not only do you not get the result, but you kind of are almost humbled, especially in the second half. It does. Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say it worries me for the rest of the season, but it did kind of like level me a bit.
Yeah, it knocks the confidence. It knocks the confidence, and suddenly you start to doubt things and all the rest of it. Now, look, we'll touch on that a bit. Oh, what was the score? Scotland, Japan.
We got beat 1-0, so it was 0-0 up until I think 84, 85 minutes, and then typically scrappy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you know about the Scotland the team, but they've got a really good bank of centre mids, a really good bank of fullbacks, but everywhere else, centre backs up front, goalkeeper were just absolutely terrible. So it's like, it's just turgid to watch. And it's almost like, I try to think of a Premier League team to liken it to. It's almost like a hybrid of like Newcastle and Spurs, maybe.
That is worrying. That's a downward trajectory. But look, at least you're in the World Cup. I've still got to worry about Tuesday evening when Italy have to travel to. We have to play two teams, Bosnia and Herzegovina, which I think is slightly unfair. But there we go.
Kicking up all for Bosnia. I seen he scored against Wales, didn't he? So yes, that's a blast from the past.
Indeed. Dzeko, I think he's still playing for Roma, I think, or something like that. He's still playing in Italy anyway, so, but there we go. Anyway, well, I took my mind off things, tried to. I went to the North London derby yesterday to watch the women with my daughter, so a bit of father and daughter time, and what better way to take your mind off things than watch Tottenham get battered everywhere they go, 5-2, which, as we all know, is a very familiar scoreline against the Spuds. And if we could just borrow Russo and Mariona Caldente for the rest of the season, that would be really nice. So they could do a job for us, I think, given the performance they put out yesterday. But there we go. So look, it is the international break, and there was some excellent news last night about both Saka and Rice returning to Arsenal to be, in inverted commas, assessed. To go along with the likes of Gabriel, Saliba, Trossard. Now, look, I'm sure if they really, really had to play, they could. But I also think there's enough fatigue, niggles, to pull them out of those international squad. And look, it's funny how all of a sudden when we do it, everyone is throwing their collective toys out of their collective prams, and they should never play for England again, and it's a disgrace, and blah 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 blah. And it's like it's funny, but I discussed it with Dr. Mitch on the last pod about the fact that it's actually more beneficial to England for these players who are playing an unprecedented amount of games and minutes to actually get some proper rest, recovery, rehab, than to actually play meaningless matches. But it's Arsenal. We're the problem, as always. So do you think this international break came at a good time for Arsenal, given last week, given the state of the squad?
I think on this, so Fraser actually asked, was asking this, and I'm kind of mixed on it, to be honest. I think on the surface it's beneficial. I mean, you lose a cup final. I kind of just referenced a couple of minutes ago, like I was down in the dumps, emotions are raw, and obviously I'm nowhere near that pitch. Your confidence takes a knock, and then you're kind of like, if we were to say play away at, I don't know, Wolves, or maybe even at home on Wednesday, it might have, like, even the crowd would have been maybe slightly down. Players might have been down. I'm obviously projecting slightly. It could have went the other way, but I think to get that 2-week break is probably a good thing. I think Arteta came out and said something along the lines of like wanting to take a breath or take a pause. So he's clearly in that bucket of it being a probably a good thing. But the only kind of asterisks I'd put over that point is we kind of just started to play well. Like, taking the City performance out of it, like we got good results against Leverkusen and Everton. Leverkusen home game and Everton. But we also had the kind of green shoots of recovery in our play style. Eze just started to play well, and like, obviously momentum and flow and rhythm is such a big thing in football, and it's an even bigger thing in title races. So you're sitting down for 2 weeks, and it's like there's so many factors going into this, because like, we're sitting down for 2 weeks, the players go off, so like, oh, maybe there's a break in that rhythm, but then so many of the Arsenal players withdrew ahead of the break, and then obviously, like you said, Saka and Rice withdrew yesterday, so they've obviously been around. They've been probably at the training ground doing some lighter sessions, having a bit of a break as well, because I mean, the likes of Gabriel, Martin, Zubimendi, they just need. Did Zubimendi go away actually?
Yeah, but he came on. He only played last 30 minutes of the game. He came on for Rodri, who played 70, and Zubimendi came on in 70 minutes. So he's there. He might play Tuesday, Wednesday, but it's not much.
I think for the players it's probably on balance a good thing. I think for Mikel himself it's probably a good thing as well, because I think one of the things that was so humbling about that game on Sunday was it's probably one of the only times that I can actually remember of him being like humbled tactically. And it was very much we were outcoached, especially in that kind of first 20, 25, 30 minutes of that the second half. It was just relentless, and we couldn't get out. And I know the injuries would have played into that, but for a manager who kind of like prides himself on so much like process and stuff like that, I think to give him a bit of that reset opportunity, that circuit break, to have a think about what that game means for the title run in, what that game means for the game at the Etihad, what it means for what he might do in Europe. I think on balance it is a well-timed break. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think on multiple levels, I think you're sort of maybe alluding to at the beginning. You want to just get straight back onto the horse to prove that it was a one-off. But I don't know. I think given the manner of the defeat, but given the fatigue in the team, just given everything, I think it. As long as players come back in one piece. Now we'll talk about Madueke in a second, and this is the risk you play. A change is as good as a rest, as they say, and going away with internationals, actually, it's less stressful. The football's less intense. You're actually only playing 2 games over 2 weeks rather than playing a game every three days. So, and I think you just go away, take your mind off it, think about something different, and I think that the element there. If the players do go away, then I think that's fine, and they love playing for their country, even Ben White, and so on. So I think it can be a good thing. And I think, look, we had the Eze injury, so look, at least it takes 2 weeks out of that potential 4-week recovery. So that's fine. So I think. I do think it's good for them, and you alluded to as well. I think even the training staff, they'll have a couple of days off because it's been. But then you just know Arteta will not leave a stone unturned to rectify what happened at City. If there's one thing that we're good at is learning from mistakes, and he will go in there and he'll be analysing it to within an inch of his life, come up with options, come up with plans. So I think it's good for it's good for that. And then you get the likes of MLS and Nordgaard to be able to get some minutes ahead of Southampton. MLS played for the under-21s and Nordgaard played and scored for Norway. So I think for once, I think actually a lot of the times international breaks. The time we hate it is when we're on a roll and the momentum, and you hate the breaking of that. But I think sometimes it is good to have these little breaks for the players just to get away from that domestic stress. Especially if, like England, it's just easy games, just no stress sort of thing. And even when it's qualifying, England never really have tough qualifying. So, but the other teams they do, because we're not just English players. So and it's good that we've got some, as far as England's concerned, but others, some sensible managers who understand the situation. And I think you see this a lot in this international break. It happens all the time. The ones prior to this, when the qualifiers and stuff, then fine, you take the players. But this one, as I said, it's more beneficial sometime for the players just to not be involved. There's nothing they're going to learn. What's Tuchel going to learn about Saka and Rice? Yeah. What's Ancelotti going to learn about Big G sort of thing? What's Deschamps going to learn about Saliba? And yeah, and then maybe they have these discussions throughout the season where they say, look, you have him, but when it comes to March, if there's any doubt, we don't. And I think there's them, and it's not just Arsenal. Like John Stones pulled out, out of club. So it's they all do it. And look, Ferguson was famous for doing it during his prime. So it's just, this is normal and fine, and I'm glad since.
Well, you seen the exact case in point of, despite it only being a friendly, why you just need to be a wee bit cute and get these players away with that tackle on Phil Foden. You're like, what? I don't know what Uruguay have got against England. I know Argentina, England, but I was looking at that challenge, and I was it's obviously a Man City player, but I think but in principle, you're you just leave it out. You know what I mean? But what I was gonna say when you were saying about the MLS and the Norgard point, which I think is a good one, because it's an international break, but then it's an international break where we don't jump straight back into the Premier League. We go away to Southampton, and then we go away to Lisbon. And you referenced the injuries there. There is a concern there, especially when we're going to then be putting more load and more reliance on players who may not have been playing so well in the past couple of weeks, i.e. Saka. I think his form over the season's been kind of overblown. I don't think it's been as bad as people have thought, but I think the last couple of weeks have been a bit off. But it kind of does allow you in those games, maybe more so Southampton than Lisbon away, maybe more so in the Lisbon home game, depending on what result you get in that away game, to try a few different things, which might just become absolutely critical if Eze's out for longer, or we don't get Odegaard back as quickly as we think.
No, indeed, and look, you talk about injuries, and we saw the film. Look, not wanting to harm any players and all the rest of it, but it's Foden seems to be all right despite the severity of the tackle, and it seemed a bit pointless. And Uruguay seemed up for it. They celebrated that equaliser. I just caught the last 10 minutes just out of interest and more to see Ben White than anything else, and they were really celebrating and really really happy to get the draw. So they're up for it. And look, you don't know the mentality. That's just the way they play. And sometimes they say you're actually more likely to get injured if you play half-hearted than if you don't play fully, sort of thing. But yeah, he'll be fine. But then we had the Madueke one, but very, very innocuous. Now, we all saw the pictures of him leaving in a knee brace, hobbling out of Wembley. He came off after 30 minutes of just some sort of awkward collision and stuff like that. So, and I think we're all concerned, and I was initially thinking if you're coming out with a brace like that, and in my experience, like I had one of those knee braces when I did my ACL, and you don't put one of those braces on unless there's an issue there. And I did a bit of digging around, asking around, and it looks like it's unlikely to be ACL, but it could be what they call a PCL, which is a posterior cruciate ligament, which is one of the main ligaments on the inside of the knee. And so it's less severe, less likely to need surgery, especially as he walked off pretty much unaided. But and the brace is normal practice. It's to protect the knee, stabilize the joint, prevent further damage, because he'll go for a scan, and you don't want to do anything like that. So it's precautionary from that perspective. But however, if it's mild, grade 1, 2 to 4 weeks. If it's moderate, 4 to 8 weeks. So if we're lucky, he could be back for mid to end of April, beginning of May. And if we're unlucky, that's pretty much his domestic season done. So, yeah, how worried are you?
I didn't see the game, but I seen that video you're kind of referencing. That was almost like a RoboCop boot, and it just doesn't look good at all, does it?
No.
I did see, I can't remember which one of the group chats it was in last night. There was a kind of tweet circulating, and it was, I don't want to put too much emphasis on it, because it was also referencing Adam Wharton in the same, and you obviously get your maximum character limits and stuff like that. But it did say the word knock, and I was like, maybe that's more about Adam Wharton, because you don't walk out of the, what do you call it, the mix zone or whatever with a boot like that if it's just a knock. And he was quite heavily limping as well, so I don't want to put too much stock in it, but I guess it's just, kind of to your point about kind of forecasting timelines. You just got to wait to see kind of what comes out from the club. But if he is out for that kind of medium term that you said there, pretty much to the, because especially with a player that relies on their explosiveness as much as he does, the knee injury is just, it might be 6 weeks, 8 weeks until you're back on the pitch. But it's probably his World Cup in question, because the confidence goes. I'm similar to you. I did my knee, I don't know, about 6-7 years ago, and I've just never got that confidence back. I never had surgery or anything, but I've just never had it back. And I know I'm not like obviously a prime athlete, but psychology is still psychology. Whether he's able to make it back, but I think
it's the knock-on effect. So again, basically we all went to, that means more minutes than Saka. But hey, we were thinking Saka was going to come inside and potentially play the 10, because we've lost Eze and Odegaard is still coming back. So now we've got to put more minutes into Saka, and we will touch on it a bit more in detail. But all our brains are just going to, that maybe means Dama needs to play more minutes, but he's only 16, and how many minutes? And it's like all of that. Basically, every Arsenal fan's having the same thought as soon as they're thinking of seeing Eze in that boot. And it's just and I've got some stats on the injuries that the BBC just released, and just the fact that we are doing what we're doing is remarkable. But we'll get to that in a minute.
But I think I think the question was, are you worried? I think yes is the answer, for those reasons you just explained, and it puts so much more emphasis on Odegaard as well. And it's kind of, I think I was about to say Havertz has never really been the answer in that. He certainly didn't play well against Man City. The only other time I can remember off the top of my head that he played that kind of right 8 was Leeds, and I actually think he did play quite well, the Leeds away game. So if we're going into a run-in with Havertz at right 8 because Saka needs to play out on the wing, then I would be a wee bit more worried, because I think maybe it worked against Leeds because it's the first time we tried it and there was that element of surprise. But you go into Bournemouth and you play it, then City will be expecting it, and Newcastle will be expecting it, and then they're able to kind of design their kind of structure and their defensive plays around knowing that Havertz is going to be there. So I think I would love for Odegaard to get some minutes against Southampton. I don't think he's the kind of the silver bullet. I think like there's that classic thing, isn't there? Like the overemphasis of the injured player. I used to always happen with Theo when he was injured, when it was like, oh, he's out injured, he's going to come back and he's going to be our new Thierry Henry, and like he'd come in and he'd play well and stuff like that, but he's not. You always overemphasize the kind of impact they're going to have, and I'm kind of hesitant to do that with Odegaard, because I mean before he got injured, there was people calling him for him to be benched, for him to be stripped of the captaincy. It wasn't good enough. He was being sold in the summer. But I think at the very binary level, he is another body that can play.
Yeah, he's a body that can pass the ball.
There's no more minutes getting put into the legs, like you say. And I guess just to finish on that, the fact that Saka and Rice got pulled out yesterday probably.
Well, I would suggest that maybe the Eze injury had something to do with that as well. So you owe me. And just the final thing. Well, a couple of things finally on the international break. Ben White returned to the England squad and actually came on. He had a very interesting cameo. Scored a goal, gave away a soft penalty. But what was interesting, stupid, whatever you want to do, it was the fact that he was booed when he came on and stuff like that. What do you make of the booing and his return to the England squad?
It's not a great look, is it? Not a great look at all. Especially, it's kind of Arsenal fans got absolutely slated for the Granit Xhaka, and then taking it even further back, the Emmanuel Abui thing. And I'd imagine it was the exact same fans booing, fans of Rochdale and fans of Stockport that were criticising Arsenal back in the day for all of that. To be fair, I don't agree with either of it. I don't think it should happen. But yeah, it's certainly not a good look. Not a good look, especially when it was, under a different manager. It was under Southgate, wasn't it? And it was more for actually, correct me if was it not something to do with mental health issues or
well, this is the thing. No one. Only I think it was Steve Holland. It was funny, and England fans having an issue with an England player hating Holland. But there we go. But no, it was Steve Holland, Walker, and White were in the room, and I think so. No one really knows what actually happened, other than a certain few people, and look, it's not an easy decision to make to leave the World Cup, because he would have known the grief he would have got under, but and all the rest of it, and the grief would have got. But look, whether he was right or wrong to do so, because I was having a big old to and fro with a mate yesterday, and I said, I'm no England supporter, but I would defend Ben White's right to make the decision he wants to make, but he's coming from the perspective, well, it's England. Footballers argue with coaches all the time. There's always just put up with it. Well, maybe he wasn't prepared to put up with it. Maybe playing for England isn't the be all and end all of everything, and fans see it very differently to footballers. For them, it's also a job, and as much as anything else. Yes, it doesn't mean they're not proud to play, but it doesn't mean they have to put up with any old shit. It's a workplace as well to play. Look, we don't know. We may hear about this. Okay, that's a bit weak, but fine. If you weren't prepared to deal with it, then that's your prerogative. But whereas a lot of people feel like he let his country down and he should never play for England ever again. But it does show the fact that he was happy to play for England. That England wasn't the issue. it was the coaching staff and yeah.
And I think, exactly. And it's kind of going slightly adjacent to football now, but this whole, certainly in the last kind of 5 years, has been that much bigger focus on doing what keeps your mental health on even playing field. And it's the minute that then gets tested for some of these people, it's oh no, he's a traitor and all that. And it's you don't know the context. What I was going to ask you, because I know you're not always an England fan, you're an Italian. Do you know the sorts of fans that go and support England? Because I know from a Scottish perspective, although the stadium Hampden is in Glasgow, you don't really get Celtic and Rangers fans there. It's a lot of, I don't want to, the minute you start talking about
there's just those who aren't, the lower league clubs or no, we know what you mean. They're not big six and stuff. No, you do, especially going away. It is a more broader thing, and so look, we all know that at the pointy end, at the top of the Premiership, that is so much better as a product, so much tense, and it's just maybe majority of people, I would say, I'd rather Arsenal win the league than Italy win the World Cup and stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas you get these other fans from other clubs. My suggestion is that England is massive for them, and it's their chance to travel abroad, to be competing at a high level, and
And that's
Right.
exactly what I was going to say. I was like, it's kind of like the Scottish fans that they're always like, I don't know, me and my pals make jokes about it. You can see the busloads coming down from like Peterhead and Aberdeen, and it means so much to them. Like, it's such like, it's their chance to go and like, obviously we're not at the same level as England, but John McGinn, Scott McTominay, that is their pinnacle of football, because otherwise they're watching Peterhead. And that, like, they put so much effort into coming down, and I can just see a similar scenario in which it's like, maybe not Newcastle, but I probably shouldn't.
No, we know. Like, if you're a Championship club or level like that, Championship or First Division, Second Division. I understand your point. Yeah, there's an element of that. I would suggest it's, and look, I'm not saying like Arsenal fans can't be patriotic England fans.
No.
I think they just maybe have a different perspective of it. And I mean, my issue primarily is this: look, if people want to feel, they want to feel. And to be honest, I'd rather they hate him for his tattoos, his tans, his this, that, the other, because you know he's got a face you want to punch, whatever it is. That I will go with and fine, because we all hate other teams' players for spurious, completely unreasonable reasons. But to boo him because of something that they don't know anything about, because blah blah blah, and it's been stoked up by jingoistic hacks looking for clicks, looking for engagement, who have agendas, or they're just annoyed that they don't know what happened, so therefore they have to try. So I don't know, so therefore I'm going to hate on this guy and stuff like that. And you get all of that, the old Daily Mail mob and whatnot. So that to me is the more thing like that. So fine, boo him for. There's the thing: Arsenal, Dubai, England, in that order. Boo him for that, whatever. But don't boo him because you've been told to boo him by some
exactly.
Some hack. And so look, it'll die down. Is what I don't think he cares. He was going. He owes the fans an explanation. He owes nobody jack. He owes the players an explanation. Maybe he says, look, this is what happened. This is why I did it, and you have to respect that. But and as you said, if I respect the fact that he was prepared to stand up for something, not going to take any old shit just to play for England. And why should you? But fans will see it differently. Oh my God, if I had the opportunity to play for England, I would never, and it's just, you can't, it's just not, it's not comparable.
Yeah,
So
kind of the point I was trying to, it's like they're almost putting so much effort into kind of coming down to these games and getting to London, and it's like, well, that guy can't even put in the slightest bit of effort to turn up, or he can't be bothered staying, and it's just, I mean, the fact that Thomas Tuchel, and England have unreal right backs, like Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Livramento, fantastic players. Ben White, absolutely fantastic player. Ben White for me is the number 4 in that order. But the fact that Thomas Tuchel probably knows a lot more about the situation and called him back up and played him shows everything you kind of need to know from me. It's clearly not an issue with character. It's clearly not an issue with the player. Well, to a certain extent, it might be an issue, but a slight issue with the player, because everyone plays their dual role in these things. But it's clearly, there's been enough of a context to understand his decision, and because of that, I'm just like, you've got to kind of see the wood for the trees a little bit and just be like, do you know what? He's now got an England top on. Support him. Leave it. It was done. Previous manager. Move on. Yeah,
exactly. Should move on. So other players in action, as I said, alluded to at the beginning in the intro, Victor Gyökeres scored a hat-trick against Ukraine. Yeah. So can we play Ukraine every week, please? So are Arsenal the problem?
I mean, you try to wing that.
He can be really effective. He can score, but he can be rubbish all at the same time, in the same game, in the same week, across multiple games. Again, maybe Arsenal the problem, but do you think this is going to be beneficial to him, and to Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's never a bad thing for him. No, I don't think. I think it's certainly not Arsenal the problem. I think it's probably the quality of the opposition that was. How do you say it? Yeah, the quality of the opposition was like his solution rather than it being an Arsenal problem, if you know what I mean. Like, Ukraine. I mean, to be fair, I've said saying Ukraine aren't that great. They came and bossed us off the park a couple of years ago. They're a good side, but it's certainly not. It's certainly not Premier League level defenders at the heart of their defence. And I mean, finishing's never his issue. Like, it's never been his issue.
We'll let you give me these stats, and this is why I say Arsenal the problem. Yeah, tongue in cheek. Yeah, he scores from 25% of his shots on goal. So that's only second in the Premier League to Thiago with 27% now. Thank you to the North Bank Pod for those stats. And by comparison, Haaland is 22% conversion. So, okay, granted, some are tap-ins, penalties, but he's got to be there, he's got to do it. But it feels like you give him more chances, we score more goals.
Exactly. It's never been a finishing thing. And I mean, I looked at the highlights of the game last night, and you swap that blue Sweden top for a Sporting Lisbon top, and it was like watching a highlight reel from last season. The amount of space he got, it's never been about, if he gets wide open spaces and he gets a chance to think, plays the shot, he's got one of the best kind of ball contacts you'll see. That's never been the issue, is that he doesn't get into the positions because his movement isn't good enough. His link-up play isn't good enough. He doesn't play, he doesn't drop, he kind of drops short, but then he's almost like kind of towing a caravan to get back into the box. I mean, at that level, you're going to be a good finisher to get to that level, but the thing that sets like Harry Kane and Lewandowski and, I don't know, back in the day, like Robin van Persie apart, it was their intelligence and their movement and their link-up play, and their ability to kind of like drop deep, spin in behind and make themselves that movement. He just doesn't have that, and he kind of relies on our system to create that for him. But then when we're always playing with playing against deep blocks, you're just never. And I don't think that's necessarily his fault. He's just not that player. So it's just, yeah. I don't think necessarily the hat trick. Like, to the point about like the Sporting Lisbon top, I don't think it necessarily tells us anything new. The underlying problems are still going to be there. I think in terms of looking towards the summer, kind of reached this point in December. I think we need something. I wouldn't move him on. I'd keep him on as a option, but I think we do need something a wee bit more. If Kai Havertz isn't going to be that player, and he can't necessarily stay fit, fingers crossed he can, then I do think we need something else up there.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's no bad thing. Give him some confidence, and we'll see. And look, other players in action. Like Norgard scored the fourth goal for Denmark in their 4-0 win against North Macedonia. Calafiori played the full 90 in the playoff game against Northern Ireland, winning 2-1. Martinelli featured in Brazil's 2-1 defeat to France. Zubimendi, as we said, came on for a few minutes. Mosquera got his full debut, which is good to see for the lad. Kai Havertz played 62 minutes in the 4-3 win over Switzerland, and Hincapié played for Ecuador. So it seems like, minutes there for our team, but nothing too strenuous. And so look, let's now turn our focus onto Arsenal and particularly the rest of the season. And just to follow up on the conversation we were having about, Ezra's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. Madueke anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks. So who knows? And Ian was asking, will this be the sort of Ian from the pod, the driving force for giving Max Daumann minutes? So how do we solve that problem around, in the middle, because we've got no Marino, so missing Marino, missing Ezra, missing Odegaard's just coming back, and we have to manage him in. How are we going to manage this period with our sort of the right side on our attacking midfield?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it? And I think at some stage, if Mikel Arteta is using words like Max Daumann and Messi in the same sentence, you never want to go too much on a player, but like if the situation presents itself like it looks like it might be, I think if you have that level of belief in a talent in which you draw those comparisons, I think you need to play him. Saka, I mean, because there's the injuries and then there's the form of the other players. I certainly don't want to see Martinelli out on the right. I don't think that really works.
Jesus?
No. I mean, I don't know if that's... he's never really done that for Arsenal, and certainly not since he's kind of had the physical drawback of that knee injury. It makes me nervous, it does, because I don't want to see Max Daumann put up as this kind of shining light. And I don't want to see him put up as a shining light. I don't want to see him
put the pressure on him to be, right, now you come in and have to do a job. You're 16. Your job is to play 20 minutes at the end of every game.
And it was interesting that he didn't come on in the cup final. For
I think Arteta was protecting him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, well, but at some point, if you are a kind of Messi or Yamal level talent, then you can't leave that on the bench when it's such an important kind of 2.5 months ahead of us. So yeah, I think the obvious answer is yes, it will mean a lot more minutes. Whether they're minutes from the start, I think it pretty much comes down to what happens with Martin Odegaard. The fact we can't bring Nwaneri back is a bit of a problem. I think if they had their time again, would they let him go? Would they insert a clause into the loan deal, which means they can bring him back? That's probably a rhetorical question. Of course they would. But yeah, I think if Odegaard comes back and can play to the level in which Arteta needs, then we might see Max from the bench a lot more. But if Odegaard's still a few weeks away and Havertz can't go 90, then I think we do see Max a lot more.
Yeah, I think so. I think he starts against Southampton, so that's one. For me, the issue is, look, we can put out a strong starting team. It's always the cumulative effect. So, you know, we could start with Odegaard, but how long is he going to last? Or you can start with Havertz. How long is he going to last? Or you can start with Dowman. How long is he going to last? So and then it's cumulative effect. So it's not just one game.
Yeah.
We're going into, like, you know, and touching it a bit later, you know, we've got 7 league games left, potentially, you know, 3 more FA Cup games left, potentially, you know, 5 more Champions League games, and it's just the fact that you're already going to stretch a fatigued, underperforming forward line, and I think Odegaard is meant to be back after the international break, but again, you got to treat it all with kids' gloves. So I think we can, you know, move the deck chairs around, as they say, and you know, swap them out. But it's, you know, and it's nuts, and you know, and everyone this season has gone on about our performances, and we're inconsistent, and we're not playing flowing football, and it's not exciting, and it's not this, and it's not that, and why aren't we putting teams away? But when was the last time we were able to put a run of games with a consistent 11 out? And unless you can do that, you don't have the relationships, you don't have the automatons, you know, or whatever. You just miss all that. You know, granted, you can take 1 or 2 out, but that's fine. But so Arteta's going, you know what? I'm going to have to be pragmatic. I'm going to design a way of playing football, you know, over a long period of time, but also within game, that we're just managing it. We're managing this, and fine, if we can do well and we can score a few goals, then great. But otherwise, the only way are we going to manage this, given the injuries, and now every team has injuries, but we're trying to win this stuff, is to play this a bit of attritional, bit of pragmatic, try and rely on the set pieces, which are sustainable, which don't, you know, but in game, right, we're going to have to spend a few minutes just chilling, horseshoe of death, because to play that fast attacking flowing football, repeat sprint, and the one thing that is sure to cause injuries is overload and reaction to repeat sprints, especially on a fatigued body. So it's understandable. And the BBC released some stats yesterday. Like, now this is for domestic injuries, so, you know, injuries that took place in the league or the cup games. Arsenal are top with, like, we've had 31 domestic injuries caused due to domestic games, and we're second in terms of days lost. So it's absolutely bloody remarkable that we made it to the Carabao Cup Final. We're top of the league by 9 points. We're in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Do you know how that? Do you know how the injury kind of numbers or minutes missed compares to kind of this time last season? Does the article say that?
No, look, I'm sure we'd be topping that as well, because it last season feels even worse, because this is a bit more dipping in and out. So, like, you know, Eze's come to form. Oh, he's out. Odegaard's going to come back. So we've got this 1 in, 1 out policy. You know, whereas last year, well, Havertz out for ages, Saka out for ages, Odegaard out for ages. But I think it was, you know, Calafiori out for ages. So I think it was more, maybe fewer players, but everyone was out for, you know, a considerable amount of time. So
I would be interested to see that comparison, because that was I think that is a key point, the fact that we've got the kind of stronger squad. You're not necessarily from like a narrative or like a film perspective feeling it as much, but I'd imagine the numbers are probably similar, if not worse, this season. And the fact that like I just remember sitting this time last year, it was like, oh well, what else can we do? We've had all these injuries, you know, like, and it was always injuries to key players at kind of the worst moments. But we haven't necessarily had that. I certainly haven't had that feeling that like we've been really unlucky with injuries. But then you look at the stats and you're like, we're top of that. You know what I mean? And it's like it's kind of like by absolute like a miracle of the tactical system, or like just like you say, the set pieces that have kind of got us to an absolutely exceptional stage of the season that we're in. Well, we're in 4 competitions. We're now really deep into 3, with the likelihood of winning at least one. And I just like, yeah, it just when I seen that article come through, I was like, that geez, like it's such a testament to how well this season has actually been.
I know, and then and again, so but you don't get any credit. And as I said, look, all teams have the same issue. So great. So the credit then goes to Arteta, and the team for getting us to this position. And look, we did a great job in the summer. So you're right. Impact is less because we've got a much better squad. So that's fine. But then don't expect bloody good football if you're always having to chop in and chop out players, because you're just never going to get that. You're going to get inconsistency. So some games are going to be really good, and some games you're just going to hang on by the fingernails and or don't get a result that you want.
Exactly. It's either don't expect the good football or don't expect to win. And Arteta and this whole squad was set up from the summer to be like, this is the must-win season. So it's like, well, what else are you going to do? Like, you know?
Yeah. So it's incredible. I think the one player that will make that I think we'll start to get back into the team that hasn't been recently, and I think we do need it, and that we missed it last week until he came on. It's Calafiori. So when we are a bit pragmatic in midfield, or lacking in midfield, or a bit less technical in midfield, less dynamic, Calafiori, like he did at the beginning of the season, is that bit of uncertainty, unpredictability, bit of dynamism that I think, Hincapié's been brilliant, but he's sort of one-dimensional in his play, being fantastic. Again, this is not to denigrate him, but in terms of what he provides going forward, it's less, whereas Calafiori is just that something different. So I do think that this is where we have to bring him back in. If he's able to, Calafiori is able to stay fit, then he will become again a keeper. Like at the beginning of the season when we're playing some nice stuff, to bring some of that flair. So you don't mind so much if you have Havertz there, to have Calafiori, and again, as much as we love Ben White, I think Timber is again more of a runner with the ball, more of a progressor with the ball type player, and again, so it will be. It's strange to say it, but our attack will be very reliant on our fullbacks, and that's how we have to manage this, or that's where we'll try and find that creative spark within the team. But now
you say Calafiori, the other kind of left back option, although I wouldn't put him in left back, that could have an absolutely massive 7, 8, 10 weeks if Arteta trusts him, is Miles Lewis-Skelly. If you are talking about doing something different from a system perspective, or different from kind of formation or kind of tactical lineup, then are you gone?
I'm still here.
Oh, are you
just
still there?
Paused. Yeah, you've paused. Sorry, keep talking. You're fine. I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. If you're thinking about doing something different from like a system perspective, putting him into kind of midfield, letting Rice play the more of that kind of covering horse, like less of the progressive left 8 role. Maybe drop him back a bit, gives Zubimendi the break that he quite clearly needs. Play a Miles in the left 8, because he's far more like, he carries it a lot more. I would say he's a much better connector than I think Declan Rice is for me. Declan Rice is brilliant at covering the pitch, but I don't know in the games, in the types of games that we play, I don't know if his technical level, or what's a better way of saying off the cuffness is what we need.
Improvisation.
There we go. No, yeah, there we go. Is what we need. So I don't know, I could see a potential role for Miles, and I would love to see him start in that left 8 role against Southampton.
Yeah, is it not too late in the season to do that, to to be playing around with formations play. I mean, look, we all have this. We had, like, it was Zinchenko playing in midfield. We have, okay, it's only just recently Saka has potentially become an option to play on the inside. We've always said, oh, maybe this player can play there. But Arteta is never one to do that. Look, he was going to do it against Wigan, and then Calafiori gets injured in the warm-up and he's got to play left back. Does he do it against Southampton? But that means then one of Calafiori, who's had 2 qualifiers, and Hincapié, who's had to travel somewhere, plays at left back. So it just strikes me. And this was one of my questions. Is it too late to change anything in terms of structure, formations, player positions? Maybe the element of surprise is a good thing.
I don't think it's, all else being equal, in an ideal scenario, no, you wouldn't want to change it because you want to continue with what's been working so far. But we've just had kind of 40 odd minutes talking about injuries and then an excess load on other players, and I don't think it's too late to try things, especially because we've got a couple of weeks before that Bournemouth game where we've already had just a couple of weeks going where they might have been working on stuff on the training pitch. We've got Southampton, which is, you don't want to take it lightly, but it is an opportunity to potentially try things. You've got Sporting, and then you've got that Bournemouth tie, which is at home. So, like, if it's going well and you're 2-0 up, maybe by the 60th minute, you can then maybe try something for the last 30 minutes before that. I wouldn't do it away at City. I'm not saying that, but I just mean for the other games. I always think back to that Man City away game. I think it was still under Wenger, where it was that Cazorla Coquelin midfield, and at some stage you're kind of forced into these positional or personnel changes that then actually become a really good solution moving forward. I think I personally would put Miles Lewis-Skelly in midfield against Southampton and not see what happens, like have a bit of thought and design around it. But I think we know what he does at left back, and I think we know Arteta doesn't trust him. But we're losing bodies in midfield, and we're losing bodies in a creative sense. So I think we need to try something in that game. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We know we can go back to the set piece, and we know what we can go back to, like, what works. But I would take that risk.
Okay, no, well, let's see. Let's see if they can cut something. So before we sort of look towards the end of the season, just taking us back to last week a little bit, can you compartmentalise the Carabao Cup final defeat and the manner of the defeat? Do you think it'll have an impact on the rest of the season? Are there any positives that we can take from the defeat?
I think in terms of positives, the fact that it was the kind of, in terms of like the ranking of the trophies, that it wasn't the most important is probably a positive. It would have been an amazing jumping off point to win it and to build that momentum, but I guess the other side of the coin, if you're looking for positives, is that it provides you that motivation from having to watch those Man City players walk up and lift the trophy, when I think a lot of the fan base thought that our name was potentially already on it, and maybe didn't give City enough credit going into it. I think
he suddenly turned up. Oh shit! City are quite good.
Yeah,
they can play as well. I thought we were just going to walk the ball into an empty net.
Exactly. But yeah, I think I can compartmentalise it. I think this is probably going to like 4 or 5 DJs or whatever, but like, I don't think. I mean, the fact that we'll have David Raya in goals for that Etihad game. And they have kind of shown how they think they can block our build-up with those, what was it, like the Haaland and then the 4?
Yeah, the 4 just passively staying outside the box, so basically blocking the passing lines, not pressing, and Kepa just going, well, I don't know. Yeah, so
like Raya gets around that from happening, but also the fact that it's already happened gives us a chance to design around it. So I think that's a positive. But no, I think how are you feeling? Because you were obviously are you able to?
No, as I said when we reviewed it, it's like it was a slow death, so you sort of become used to it. So it's not like the final whistle goes and like, it's like you knew from 70 minutes onwards, 60. No, this isn't happening, and you can just sort of start to just get get used to it. And so they say, you either win or you learn. And the one thing that I said is that we are very good at learning. Arteta is big on that. That's one thing he does. And look, maybe if losing this means we get the other 3, then fine. It's just you have to do this bit first before you get the other bits. And we've only lost 4 times this season, and this was the only time, as I said, we've been outplayed, outcoached, out everything. The other ones were last minute goals, late goals, whatever. And then after those defeats to Liverpool, Villa and United, we went on 18, 12 and 14 games undefeated, so given the fact that we're 9 points ahead with +7 goal GD, so that could be seen as another point. Okay, they've got a game in hand against Palace, so let's call it 6 and a +5 goal difference for argument's sake. We played Bournemouth at home weekend of the 11th, 12th. They played Chelsea away, and then we play City. So, I think the positive is that we're a team that bounces back. We're a team that is resilient from that perspective. So it's not a point of throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And the point is, well, we're going to be ready for this. We're going to have a different team. We're not going to have Kepa in goal. Fingers crossed. At the Etihad, and also the when we go to the Etihad, it's not a must-win game. It's a must-not-lose game, which is different to playing for a draw.
Yeah.
But it is a different mindset. So I think the narrative of the Carabao Cup Final will come at the end of the season when we've done what we've done, and then you'll go back and retrospectively say, "Oh, see, because we lost that, we won X, Y, and Z." It's bullshit. It's just but it's easily done. Or because we lost that, we fell apart, and then it is what it is. And you move on. But it's an opportunity to learn and you say, okay, so now we know that that's what Pep might do, and we can figure something out against that. So I think we can take some positive. There's always something to take away. Arteta will always find something in the defeats. What could he have done differently? Should he have brought Calafiori in at half time? Should I be braver here? He'll get to know his players more. So with that in mind, what are we realistically winning this season? Given we talked about the squad and the injuries, given where we are. So what do you think we're realistically winning? And would you be disappointed? This is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek question as well. Would you be disappointed if we only won the league?
Oh man, I hate this question. I liked this question 2 weeks ago. I hate it now. I don't. I honestly don't. I think we'll win the Premier League. I do. I think. I do think we'll win the Premier League. I think that is the only thing we'll win. I don't know. I think if you're asking kind of for a prediction, I think we'll win the Premier League. I think we'll get to the final of the Champions League, and I think we'll go out. I think we'll get beaten in the final again. And I think I'm not so sure about the FA Cup. I think I don't know. Maybe it's just the recency bias from that City game. I don't think we've got enough mercurial kind of difference makers for a Champions League final win against, who would it be,
PSG, Bayern Munich
or Bayern Munich. I think that would maybe be a step too far against a grueling after a grueling Premier League season. It's actually interesting, on the walk back from Hampden last night, one of my pals asked me, he was saying, would you rather win the Premier League or the FA Cup and the Champions League? What would you take? Because I couldn't answer the question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think the FA Cup is irrelevant. It's whether you want to win the Premier League or Champions League, because it doesn't, I don't think, change the needle for a lot of people. So it's I would... League person. I'm a league person. I think at this moment in time, I'm a league person to get that, because I think that will be a stepping off point for other stuff. Champions League is what on the world stage everyone will be renowned and you'll have that forever. I just think the league is the real indicator of who you are, how good you are, because the Champions League at the end of the day is still a cup competition, and anyone can have their moment in the cup. Type stuff, and it's, in a way, it's easier to win than the Premier League. Okay, the FA Cup is the FA Cup. I'll take that out of the equation, because doesn't add anything to it really. So So yeah. So look,
I don't.
what are you?
And I don't think if we don't win the Premier League, I don't think we win the Champions League.
Yeah. There's all the knock-on effects, and if we only won the league again, Tony, would you be disappointed given we were in the Carabao Cup final? We're likely to we could potentially get to semi-final, final of the FA Cup, Champions League, get to semi-final, final of that. Or would you just be like, I don't care, just the league and the rest is a bonus?
When am I having to answer this question? Because I think we win the league, I think we will get to the Champions League final. So no, I won't care. Will I care? Maybe once the dust is settled and you're like, no, actually, sorry, ignore me. I wouldn't care. I don't care. No, if we're in the Premier League, I will be absolutely. It's been 20 odd years. I do not care. Like you said, there's that jumping off point. I think within the next 2, 3, 4 years, we'll win a Champions League if kind of Arteta sticks around and we kind of continue the trajectory we've been on today. So no, I think I am more than happy with just a Premier League.
What's disappointing is when we were putting away sides like Atletico Madrid was at 4-1 at home, Bayern Munich 3-1 at home. We were so good, and we were rightly talked about being best team in Europe, best team in the world. Because if you're best team in Europe, it's best team in the world, that stuff. Because we were at that point in time. It's very frustrating or annoying. I don't know what the terminology is. Frustrating may not be the right one. It's a shame. There you go. It's a shame that we are not that team. So now you're right. If we play those teams now, if we play Bayern Munich and PSG, and it's, you see them now, they're fresh as daisies, because even PSG, their owner, who's part of the Ligue 1 committee, can we have the day off? I know you don't want us to, but can we have the week off so we can prepare for the champ? Yeah, you can do. Yeah, and I think Lens were unhappy about that. Bayern Munich can basically put their feet up in the league, so it's just a very different story if we were to come up against them again. And look, a one game, maybe Arteta has a tactical masterclass. We've seen it. You've seen, City beat Palace beat City last time. Wigan have won the FA Cup Final. So in a one-off match, anything can happen. But I think that's just that freshness, and they have game-changing players who are playing at that level consistently. We have game-changing players, but they're off, like Saka. Yeah. They're off the boil at the moment, or they, as I said, if we're going to win the league, we are doing it by crawling over the line. we are not doing it by streaming ahead and putting away sides and it's all nice and sunny. We are going to be just grabbing.
Yeah, I think that's the next evolution for this team, isn't it? Is to get that bit more cutting edge and the ruthlessness. That's how you don't end up feeling like you're only ever winning 1-0 or 2-1 or 3-2. But yeah, I think
it's going to be defensive solidity. I think that wins us the league. So with that, I mean, Ian put this, and a few people are, would you agree that if we win our remaining 4 Premier League games, so that's 12 points, that should be enough? So that would take us to 82 points. Mm-hmm. The maximum City can get is 85. Yeah. Do you think 4 wins out of the next 7 is enough to win the league? 82?
Are you saying 4 wins and then 3 defeats, or just 4 wins and then TBC in the aways?
82. Basically, we need 82 points to win the league. If all we get, 4 wins, 3 defeats. So all we need is 4 wins.
Yes. I think if we win all 4 games, it means that we'll get something at West Ham. I don't think we'll get beat at the Etihad, but if I'm having to commit to saying that we lose at the Etihad, we lose at West Ham, and we lose at, who's the other one? Palace.
So basically, we beat Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Beat Fulham.
Burnley and Newcastle.
Beat Burnley, beat Newcastle.
Yeah, I think we win it. Yeah, if we win all 4 of those, which I think we will win all 4 of those, I think. I think we will.
I'm worried about Bournemouth. They've got some. They'll score a long-range goal from some 5-year-old that they signed from Bolivia, in the winter that no one's ever heard of. Whereas, Man City still have to play Chelsea away, Burnley away, Everton away is the tricky one. Yep. Brentford at home. Bournemouth away, and then Villa at home. So they have to basically win all those games.
So can you just say what their fixture list is again?
So they still have to put the Crystal Palace one in, but but Man City is that away or at home? I can't remember. Is that
I think that's at home.
Yeah. So that's a given. Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Burnley away, Everton away, Brentford at home, Bournemouth away, Villa at home.
That's a tough run of fixtures.
Yeah.
That is Everton away, Brentford at home. I mean, Everton were really good against us. They beat Chelsea. Chelsea away is always a difficult game for. They're out the Champions League. Are they in the? That's just made me feel a little bit more confident. I was kind of nervous, but no, it's just made me.
Well, we've got Bournemouth at home, City away, Newcastle at home, Fulham at home, West Ham away, Burnley at home, Palace away.
Mm-hmm.
So they look good on paper. On grass is a very different story. So I'm thinking 82 points should be, 82 points. And if we don't lose at the Etihad, then I'm pretty sure that should be done. I think around this. And there were some rumours going around about a points deduction for City. If it was to happen now, would you care? Or are you like, no, I want to win the league on, in inverted commas, merit, and let's have the points deduction another time, or sod it?
The latter. Absolutely the latter. Okay. That would annoy me. Like nothing actually changes, you still win the league, but I would just hate, because I want before, because I think Pep does leave this summer, and I want to beat Pep as like in the league without any, like they've been deducted 20 points. I want to just do it clean. All else kind of being equal, and then the points deduction comes next season, because I think that's a slight cop out if they get a points deduction this season. I know it could like they could kind of hit them this season, next season, and the next, but I just I want to have the ability that it's been won fair and square, team against team, manager against manager, especially now that they beat us in the Carabao Cup, because it would be like, oh, they were coming, they smelled blood, they were on your coattails, and then they had 6 points taken off them. So then that put them back, that dejected them, and then all their players were just looking at the World Cup and were just jogging around. So I want to do it fair and square. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, for me, if they've cheated, they cheated, so it's not fair and square. So if they were, I understand it, and fine, if we can guarantee us winning the league, then fine, I want to do it without the points deduction. But if they've cheated, sod it. They don't deserve to be competing, and if it sends them down and all the rest of it, fair play. They shouldn't even be competing against us. Then we say, right, we, at this level, because they cheated. So fine, we actually wiped the floor with everyone else, and we won the league by 20 points, and there we go. So I don't think it would bother me that much. I understand, and there'll be the asterisks and whatever, but
we've come so close to beating them when they were cheating. I just wouldn't want that.
So you want to basically beat them whilst cheating. So it says even by cheating, you still can't beat us. Yeah, I know.
We've been so close in recent years, and we've kind of slightly fallen away. And then obviously last season, kind of Liverpool essentially walked at the end. But I would want it to be like, I 100% get what you're saying about, like, they're cheating and they deserve everything they get. But I would rather, if I had my choice, they get their comeuppance next season and the next season and the next season. I want this season to be won by sheer merit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we better go and bloody win it then. Anyway, these are all rumours, and I'm sure, because even if they said, right, you're going to get deducted 60 points, no, we're going to go back into court and bleed you dry for another X amount of years. So I'm not holding up any hope. It was just an interesting thing. So, and look, here's one final leading question. Do you trust Arsenal?
Yeah, I do. I think back in 22-23, was it when we had the black kit, I was nervous when we were kind of going to Anfield and going to the London Stadium. I haven't felt as nervous this season, and I think that is like just a natural like feeling of trust. I think the players are a lot more, not trustworthy, but they're a lot more level. I think the kind of the joker in the pack is the injuries. So it's like, yeah, you can trust your manager, you can trust the system. Although I don't always like the system, I certainly trust it to deliver effective results. It's just it's the uncontrollables that I the injuries, like the decisions that can come up, but that's not something that we can control. I think, like you kind of said, like the excellent point of the minute we've had a bit of adversity, we've bounced back immediately. And I trust us to do that again. Like I said, I am glad it's Southampton and not a Premier League game this weekend, because it gives us that slight kind of like warming up after the cup final defeat and after the international break.
Assuming we win.
But even if, true. But so I think I trust us to put all of the effort in, and I trust us to have a plan. And I think if you put those two together, I think we'll get enough points to go over the line.
Yeah. No, me too. I do trust us, but I said it's going to be a slog. It's going to be just crawling over the line. But if we get over the line, no one's gonna care. No. So I do. I think you said that the point is how we've reacted. Again, we're assuming that we'll react in the same way. So it's how we deal with that adversity. I don't trust Man City. They do have a tendency at this stage of the season to not lose many games, to not give up many points. But then it was a shock what happened against West Ham, and when we beat Everton. So all it takes is another draw. But I don't trust Bournemouth. So I trust us. I just don't trust anyone else to fuck it up for us.
Chelsea was like,
oh God, I don't trust Chelsea at all. Jesus, I'm not expecting anything from that lot. The fact that I'm going to have to want them to win is just, it's already making my skin crawl. So
draw would be an unreal 2 or 3-0 walk in the park win for us on the Saturday morning off, and then or early afternoon, and then if they could just take a 1-1, that would. No,
I want Chelsea to win. I'll tell you, they're in those. Sorry, I just want them to win. I don't give a shit anyway. But I'll worry about that near the time. So I do trust Arsenal. I do trust that. Yeah, all the talk that they say is right, and and they are putting it into place. But actions speak louder than words, and I'm sure we'll do all we can. Then it's just down to a bit of luck, a bit of variance, and a bit of quality. So
did you answer the question, Tab? Sorry, on just one final one. Did you answer the question on what you think will win?
Oh, well, just because I think we'll just win the league. Maybe league and FA Cup potentially, but that's quite hard. The FA Cup, you're going to have to face, I think, Chelsea, Liverpool, or Man City at some point. And look, the FA Cup's our competition. Maybe if we play City in the final, it's our the League Cup is City's, and we have the FA Cup. What I don't. Okay, put it like this: if we win the league before the finals of the Champions League and the FA Cup, I think then we win one of those two. If it's down to Palace away, which I'm hoping it's not, but if it's down to Palace away in the last game of the season, FA Cup is the week before. I think one. So I think it's it. So I'm with you. I think we only win the league. I think PSG and Bayern play Real Madrid in the final. I think we can do them. PSG potentially. Bayern is the one that scares me. And the FA Cup. Just look, if we lose to Liverpool, lose to City, fine. I just don't want to lose to Chelsea. That would be the one thing that would be it. So I think we just win the league, and if I'm being honest, I would be slightly. We could have maybe got something else. But I think maybe at the time, and what I'll be saying, talking out the other side of my mouth is, don't care. We've won the league. You lot can go and get lost. So I think that's where I am with it. But if I'm going to be brutally honest, there's just that little bit of, it could have been just really special. could have been really good.
Yeah,
And it's it's potentially a shame it's not. But I think if we win the league, then I think I might change my mind. So
yeah, I think if it was like this exact situation next season and we had already won the league the previous season, I would get that fit sense of what might have been. But I think just win the league and just like the scenes, the celebrations would just be, I don't know, euphoric, and then we can go in and do all that next season. I think once we're already over the line.
Exactly. This is just this is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end, as they say. So anyway, thank you, Andy, for joining me this fine Sunday morning.
Not a problem. A pleasure, my friend.
Good. And look, you can follow us on Blue Sky Threads at The Grove AFC, on Twitter, TikTok, our YouTube channel, our Apple Podcast, Spotify, and appreciate it if you leave a subscribe or a follow, a like, comment. Really appreciate that. And if you've done that already, thank you so much for doing that. We see them and we do notice, and all the comments and the additional subscribers. So thank you for that. And there'll be a pod pre-Southampton previewing that. We were hoping to have Laith, the editor of the Gooner fanzine, on as one of our community casts, and we still try and work something out with him. But he's one of the busiest men in football, covering the women, the men, England, cricket, and everything else. So tying him down is a challenge. But let's just see if we can get something with him going, whether it's just a part of a preview of Southampton or one of our community casts. We'll see. There we go. So look, thank you for listening. Fingers crossed we get through the rest of the international break without any more issues. The likelihood is that they're going to come back with Saka and Rice injured in training collision. Should have stayed with England. And
Don't.
Can you imagine? And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.